I just got a new MSI gaming desktop yesterday, so I don't have everything quite set up.
How many cores did you buy?
It's got 8.
Oh, okay.
Share screen. There we go. All right. You guys see it okay?
Yep.
I've got to get this damn bar.
Yep.
Get this bar out of my way so I can freaking see. All right, cool. You guys can still see it?
Yep.
Okay, cool. All right.
Yep.
So instead of me reinventing the wheel, I just wanted to, I'll go through my presentation that I give on this stuff, and then we'll get really into it as far as, you know, what we do as far as the research, why we pick certain things, and then it'll probably be at least 2 sessions, maybe 3. So next week, I'll get you guys into how to actually work in the templates and how to put it all together. And then the last one, if there's any questions that I didn't answer from the Ask Me Anything emails, then we'll just go into town and, you know, answer questions on the, 3rd day or whatever if we need to. So, but basically this is all about advanced schema. So schema to me is basically building a second website. So when we go after and look at how we do schema and the research we do and the stuff we put in the schema and the types of schema we use, then you kind of basically see how the process goes to where you're adding just as much information in the schema, if not more, than what's on the web page itself. So, you know, and I'll show you guys I'll show you guys my test site. I'll show you some different things that we do about, you know, how we put it together, how we stack it, and just go on from there. So like I said, you guys are going to be my guinea pigs for, I'm eventually going to do some sort of course in this, but it's hard to do a course without having people actually do stuff along with it. So one of the things I'm going to ask all you guys is pick a site to follow along and, you know, and do the schema yourself. And, you know, I'm going to show you guys how we go through and do the research. I'm going to show you guys how we implement it. And then, you know, but I want you to do it on your own site. So that way you guys can follow along and learn. You can come up with questions, you know, all that kind of stuff. So it's going to be an interactive type of deal, not just me talking. Okay, so why do you need advanced schema? Basically, schema is a system, a process, a software development, a coding system, whatever you want to call it, that the search engines all came up with themselves. It's actually the only thing that the search engines came up with themselves. And then you have Google came up with some Chrome stuff and the way their algorithms work. Bing has their algorithms and their stuff. But as far as schema, as far as the tags for schema, this is the schema that they built. This is what they did this, and that's why I believe it reads so well. That's why I believe it works in every search engine, not just Google. And it actually, you know, gives a better snapshot of what the search engine's getting ready to see on the page. I also believe that if the schema is done correctly, that you really don't need to have the bot go all the way down the page. They get all they need in the head because that's where the schema resides. Never put schema in the footer. You defeat the purpose of schema by doing that. But the schema in the head, if the bots can read it and the bots have a full understanding of what's on the page even more, then, you know, there's an argument that says, can I save the crawl budget and have them go to the next page without going to the public side of the code? So another thing too is in my test site that I've done, I think it's like 4 years old now, but one of the things that we're looking at on that side is that, you know, we do know that they read the schema. We do know that they rank the schema. We do know that, you know, everything that they wanted to find is in the schema. And so the crawl budget on that site is probably pretty small because it's all schema. There's nothing on the public side. I'll show you guys that page too. So, but basically it brings all the entities of that person, of that brand, of that topic, of that service into one place. So, you know, I started going down this path when I was trying to get feature snippets everywhere. And in doing the process of, where Google, Yahoo, and Bing are the three that we mainly talk about, in order for them to build out a featured snippet, they search for the stuff around the internet to build that featured snippet. If it's easy to find and easy to manipulate and make a feature snippet out of, they'll use it. That's what started us on the path of advanced schema. So when we go out and we do the research about the brand, then we're going to go out and find out whatever the brand is. We're going to find out the first 10 pages of Google, first 10 pages of Bing, and the first 10 pages of Yahoo. Bing and yeah, we definitely check Yahoo too. So the biggest thing though is we want to find out what is out there in the first 10 pages about Solterra, for instance. Okay, so Solterra also has a competitor in Europe. They make mattresses, has nothing to do with us, but so we do have to make sure that we're choosing the right stuff about Solterra. So we don't want to choose the stuff about the company in Europe. We don't want to choose anything that does not have to do with the brand Solterra, which is a digital marketing, digital agency. So we'll go out and we'll find everything we can about it. We'll find out awards we've won. We'll find out citations we've built. We'll find out press release links. We'll find out all kinds of different things, different review links from different review services, and we'll bring all that stuff together and put it in a text file. So when you guys see how we build out the text files, you'll understand. So it's basically research before we even start getting into actually building any schema. And we always start with the brand. Now you're going to have a lot of circumstances to where the company is brand new. It's maybe a year old, and you're not going to find much about the brand. That's okay, but you still need to go out and do the research to make sure that there isn't things out there that you do want to bring in about the brand. And then you get into people, and then you get into services. So same process for everything. So it just goes out and we find out all the different things about Terry. We go out and find all the different things about Solterra. We go out and find all the different things about SEO, and we bring it all into the text file. And so that's what we want to do. We want to make sure we're finding all the entities, all the nodes, all the different things people call these things into one place. And it gives the search engines the first view of what they're getting ready to, what the page is about, what the website is about, so on and so forth. We also do internal linking through siloing, through schema, which I'll show you guys. And then we also stack schema on a page level, which I'll also show you guys. So getting the schema ready. So like I said, it's website structure research. Okay, so what is the structure of the website? Is it a website that is a multiple service website? Is it a multiple location website? Is it an e-com website? What kind of website is it? And then now you start building out the structure. So the website structure means that you're going to have a site-wide schema. So the site-wide schema is basically, you think about it like your nav bar system, your main nav system. So the site-wide schema is going to be, it's going to talk about the different main service pages. It's going to talk about the about page, the contact page, about the brand, all the 50,000 foot level. It doesn't get into specific services. It doesn't get into locations except for like a main one, which would be the main NAP for the website. If you have multiple locations, I'll show you how to do that on the local pages. But the biggest thing is that we want to make sure we're doing all the website, all the research we do. So this says grab everything in the first 4 pages. We found that actually, at least 7 to 10, because there are stuff out there, especially around awards. So just because you won an award 2 years ago doesn't mean that's not an award. That's something you want to use. It doesn't matter. So when we go in and we put awards in the schema, we want to find them all. So it doesn't matter if they're 2 years old or 10 years old. If they're on the first 10 pages, we want those type of links. And we want to put those links into the schema. We also do the authority site research, which is basically, where is the brand? How old is the brand? Is the brand a spinoff of another brand? Is it, has the brand always been the same forever, so to speak? So we always go out and we try to find out whatever we can about the brand. We also gather the stack links. So we want to gather all the citations that have been built, all the Google stack site links, which we build authority stacks for home pages, and we build local and service stacks for the inside pages. But we want all those links. We want all those URLs because we're going to put them in the schema. We want to gather all the brand links if you do IFTTT, which we do. So not the other rings. We do 4 rings for IFTT. We just do the brand links. Just the main brand links is all I want for the schema. We go out and we research accreditations, educations, where they went to college, what groups they were involved in, what sports they played in. Especially lawyers and doctors, they have a ton of stuff that's out there on the internet about them. You just need to do a little bit of research and see if you can find the stuff. Definitely their college, then go to the college website and do some research in there, try to find out if you can, were they valedictorian, did they win some type of awards, all that different stuff. So we get all the reviews and ratings. We basically list them down as far as numbers, and then we'll grab maybe 5 to 7 actual reviews and put them in the text file. We definitely go out and we try to find the map, that we tried the G code, the M code, the CID, all that stuff. I have a plugin, Plepler, for Chrome extension that gives us all that information. That's the easiest way to do it. But you definitely want to find out all the machine IDs and all the stuff that Google already has assigned to either the brand, definitely the services, and definitely the locations. And then you start with a site-wide schema, and you build that out first, get that loaded up, and then you work on the other schema. So it's always good to get the big schema done the first, get it loaded on the website while you work on the service schema, while you work on the local page schema, stuff like that. Any questions so far? If you do, just put them in the chat. Okay. Okay, so about the schema, this is one of the biggest things that people do wrong with schema. This is one of the reasons why plugin schema is not effective. So you have to treat each page as its own entity, as its own animal, so to speak. Okay, so when you go to a web design page and Phoenix web design page in Solterra, we want to make sure that that page and that schema for that page covers that page, and obviously the site wide. So, the site wide's on everything. So we're stacking schema. So we want to make sure that the page stands on its own. You're bringing all the entities and nodes into one place. The schema is a good way to tell the search engines more about the page. We always try to use a different title and description for schema compared to the page, because it gives you more real estate. So if I can put, if I have a 600-word paragraph, that's about this page, so to speak, or about this service, we'll write 600 or 800 different words in the schema. So we have both. So you have a description, and then you have the disambiguous description. Those you can load up, which I'll show you on my test site. Okay, so default schema, use productology if available. Productology is not productionology is not available all the time, but you definitely want to try to find it. It's a little, I like it better than Wiki. Wiki we use all the time, and Wiki's kind of just losing its luster, so to speak. Default schema is okay on each page. So there's some main service schema. Home and construction business is a main service schema. Roofing contractor is a main service schema. Plumber's a main service. HVAC contractor. Those are default, what we call default schemas. But you really got to be careful with those. So me personally, on my plumber sites, I don't put plumber as the site-wide schema, because a lot of times the plumbers might do something that might not fit into a plumber category. So for instance, if they do slab leaks or something, something that is still considered plumbing, but also might be a different category, you're better off using like home and construction business as your site-wide schema. And then on your plumbing pages, you have plumber schema, so on and so forth. So just be careful with the site-wide. We like professional service and organization for site-wide. Professional service is supposed to be going away, but they said that 3 or 4 years ago, and it still hasn't gone away. But that's the kind of stuff that we use. So it's all based on the amount of information each schema type will allow. So when you're building out the schema and you're doing things like plumber, you can't use like the keyword section in plumber. It doesn't let you do that. So the keyword section has to be for article or web page schema. So there's different things that'll go in with different things, but the site-wide, you want as much information as you can possibly put in there. Be careful with review schemas. Review schema, if the review is on the page, then you can have the review schema. If it's not on the page, don't install it. Aggregate rating is another one. So aggregate rating, we used to be able to get the stars and the SERPs with schema. I still have it in all my schemas in case it comes back again, but that's not how you get the stars on schema anymore. So a lot of people that do have the stars showing in the SERPs, it's typically from a third-party vendor like Trustpilot. There's a couple of them that we're finding that are producing the stars. And it's not pulling from Google, it's pulling from a different system. So we're actually testing that right now to see how they are getting the review stars. And if that's they don't publicize it, they can get that. So it might just happen on accident, but we are trying to figure out that. And then you want to choose all the schemas that fit on that page. If there's a video, you want a video schema. If it's a podcast, you want the podcast schema. So whatever's on that page, you want to do schema for. Schema for local pages is super powerful. I'll get into that later. And ecom schema, I get a lot of questions about ecom schema. Ecom is basically about the site, what the site is about, what the products you sell, so on and so forth. And then it gets very heavy into brand, products, and then reviews of the products. And so, yeah, that's basically it. All right, so hold on, we got some questions here. Let me see. Okay. Brand association is super important, especially on security level. We are building brand association tool. Yep, exactly. Brand. If you're in the SEO world, you need to be building brand authority and trust every single time you look at that website. It's all about brand authority and trust. It's not about ranking. It's not about SEO. It's about building the brand that is trustworthy, that is authoritative, and that rules the freaking category and system and locations that they're in. Okay. How many hours of research do you typically perform on a local client? If it's an older local client, say 4, 5, 6, 10 years old, as far as a business, we can spend 4 or 5 days just doing research. It's Sarah and her team. I think she has 2 people with her. So yeah, they'll spend a couple days doing research. If there's not much out there, they can do it typically in a day. If it's a large law firm, we're doing right now, I think they got 21 lawyers, they've got 11 locations. They'll probably spend 3 weeks doing research for that law firm. So, but again, it's the more locations, the more people, the bigger the brand, the more expensive, the more work, so on and so forth. So yeah, just like JP said. So the biggest thing about scraping, because we also tried scraping, is that when you have like names, when you have, two Bob Collins or whatever, so you really have to make sure, because this happened to us in the very beginning, is you really have to make sure you're grabbing the right information for the right person or the right brand in order to bring it in to the schema. One of the things you never want to do is you don't want to put the wrong stuff in your schema, because it will have an adverse effect on your rankings, guaranteed. So we've proven that. Okay. So choosing the right at type. Okay. So this is the biggest thing. So the at type is going to be how you tie schema together. So I have different at types for different things that I want. And you can include bigger schema with the same at type. And I just had my staff, I just had Sarah separate one of them so I can show you the difference. But the biggest thing is, yeah, you want to make sure that you check the right app type. Local business is only used in our system on local pages. So if you have an exact match domain, dallaswebdesign.com or whatever, then yeah, you have a local business. I still wouldn't use it as a local business site-wide. I would still use organization or professional service. But, I personally only like local business on my local pages, whether it has a map location there or not, it still gets local business. If it doesn't have a map location, a secondary map location, I'll put one either close to it or I'll put the main one on the brand. Like Solterra, I think I've got 27 maps. So, I have probably 150 local pages. So obviously not every location has a map, but if I have one in Tyler, Texas, then I'll put that same map on the Longview, Texas local page. So it doesn't hurt either way. You just want to make sure that you don't have it on your site wide, and you just be careful with local business. It's super powerful and it gets paid attention to a lot. Some of the things that we really like getting into founders. Founders a good one. Mentions and abouts, I'll show you how we do that. HasMap obviously is always important, additional properties. Potential action is super important. We actually separate that from the rest of the schema, so it's noticed better, I think. And then area served, and then you can also, we can show you how that we stretch the proximity of our map. Does it work or not? I have no freaking idea, only because we do so much other stuff to stretch the proximity. So I don't have a map for my test site, which I probably should get just to see what I can do to play with that. But right now I don't have a test map to play with. Implementation, so stacking, this is a little bit I've talked about. So site-wide, organization, the top service, local business, if it's an exact match domain. Like I said, I really would try not to do that. Don't put schema on your password area, privacy pages, forms, thank you pages, stuff like that. Terms of service, don't put schema on all that stuff. You definitely want person schema for the owners of the company, and maybe even, GM or chief operating officer or something. Definitely gonna, you don't need to do it for everybody in the organization, but you definitely want to do it in the top tier. Mentions and abouts, I'll show you how we find those. It's pretty simple, but it's also pretty cool. Organization, offer catalog, the main GMB. I'm not going to change that to GP it, whatever, Google business profile. Include the homepage citations on the homepage only. So our site-wide is on the site-wide, but our homepage will have its own schema, because if I did my citations and I did my brand stacks, and I only want those links on that page. I don't want those links site-wide, because it's not a site-wide link. It's a link to the homepage. So when I build my citations for my local pages inside, those citations only go on those local pages. So if I go out and I build, if I have my Phoenix map and I go out and build 80 citations for that, I'll put those 80 citation links in the schema as far as sameAs. So you'll see how we do all that as we go through this stuff. Brand syndication properties, same thing. So the IFTT brand, we put all those links on the homepage only. It's not on the site-wide. Top tier service schema, we do a lot of state schema. So we do, like web design, then I have a Texas web design page. And then on the Texas web design page, I have all the city pages in Texas. So that's how we basically silo our city system. And we do the same thing in schema. We definitely want the mentions and abouts for that specific service. If you have a location for that GMB code, and then the service citation bill. Same thing with the local business schema. So state and city. Like I said, I build my sites to where I have a state, and then I have the cities below it. That's kind of like my internal, funnel structure, silo structure, whatever you want to say. And you'll see that if you go to Solterra site, click around. Area service state, cities with the page URL. And then you do the city with the page URL, the geo circle, and then the place of local attractions. I love local attractions, but I also tie them into my company. So if I have a local attraction of Bank One Ballpark, which used to be the name of the baseball stadium here, it's not anymore, I don't know what it is now, but my family has season tickets there. So I'll put in the schema, Solterra has season tickets to the Arizona Diamondbacks at this location. So I'll tie the location schema, the geolocation schema into Solterra. I'll put Sky Harbor International Airport. This is where people fly in to visit Solterra. I mean, so you really want to try to tie it in, just list a place, try to tie that place in, and you also notice the way I don't know if you'll notice it actually, but the way I do places, I always talking about, I do a lot of driving directions for my maps. So on those type of places, we do put down there, the music museum all the way to, something really, really farther south. And I'll pick 6 to 8 general locations that I want my map to stretch. And I'll put all those in the local attractions. And again, I'll tie them into driving directions. I'll put a driving direction link in there. So Google can start putting all this stuff together. So we've been doing that for a long time. We actually started doing that way before I even knew that, you could do driving direction stuff. So we always try to pick pinpoints of the city and then bring them into the schema and then tie those locations into the brand. So you can kind of bring it all together. Mentions and abouts with location, service, and city and state. I'll show you guys all that. And then local map information. Okay. FAQ schema. FAQ schema is probably the most powerful schema out there, mainly because it will get your pages indexed faster. It does answer questions. It will pop you up, and people also ask. It will pop you up in different variables that Google uses. Make sure that whatever FAQ schema you're using is the same FAQ schema on the page. So FAQ schema is never used site-wide. It's always page per page, but you have to have the FAQs on the page itself in order to have it on the schema. And we do just copy and paste those. So it's not, you can make them longer. You can, make the question or the answer twice as long or whatever you want in the schema. Is totally fine.
Have you noticed a difference between, so I noticed they get indexed better if the questions are in H3?
Yeah, I haven't really tested it, but I probably believe that. I do believe that H3 and 4s are kind of the things people nobody really wants to use, and we use the crap out of them. So yeah, that might be true, just because of the fact that it's I think it's a different ranking factor as far as, an H3 compared to an H2. I think H2s get used obviously way too often, but if you do the structure correctly, like we all learned in school, H1, H2's the subtopics, H3's the subtopics, and that type of thing. But yeah, no, I believe that, JP, that it's all mine are H3, so I never tested it to see the difference of them. But
yeah, I noticed, at least from in the wild, I noticed a big difference making them H3s rather than H4s, because they used to make them H4s all the time, and then I switched it to H3 and they indexed a lot quicker. So
that's cool. Good to know. And then of course, video schema if the video is on the page, and then article schema for blogs. That's pretty self-explanatory. All right. So this is what a Yoast schema looks like. Okay, not very much. It does very little as far as information about what you're trying to tell the search engines. Some plugins install structure schema like rank math. Google doesn't need to know that you have a WP header and you have a WP footer and a WP sidebar. You don't need all that crap. I call it crap schema. So I treat my schema very freaking lean and mean. I mean, I don't keyword stuff it. I treat it as a real freaking product that we take pride in, and it works out. It works out really good. You need to turn off your theme and plugin schema if you have it. A lot of themes are coming out now with basic schema in them. You need to get rid of that crap. And then, of course, if you use Yoast or Rank Math or whatever, just get rid of their schema. Just turn it off. So the difference is this is my schema. So this is Yoast. This is my schema. So you can kind of see the difference of how we bring things in. This is a node tool, by the way, that Simon Cornelius has. He showed it at the mastermind. It's a pretty cool system, but it'll basically just go out and show you which nodes you have for, whatever page you're looking at. So there's a huge difference. You can kind of see, I mean, Yoast doesn't have much. Yoast just puts into schema what you put it in there, even the pro version of Yoast. But the advanced schema, now you get into all kinds of stuff. You get into the brand, you get into the owners, you get into citations. This is all the stuff that plugin schema cannot find. They're not going to be able to go out and find all the awards you have, all the affiliations, all the education that you've done, all the social links, all this stuff. So when you look at what the differences in schema and all the stuff you can install in schema, this is why our schema works. And this is why a lot of people that take the time to do this type of schema or hire us to do the schema, they see great results in it, and it just brings everything back in and makes it, I personally think it makes the website more cohesive. Now, here's a disclaimer. If your website is shit, if your on-page is shit, and you install this type of schema, it could have a negative effect, because now Google is seeing your regular mistakes. So I did one schema project, delivered it. The guy called me up like 3 weeks later and said, man, all of a sudden we're taking a dive, and I did a basic audit. Typical 19 freaking H1s on the home page. His H1s were contact us, all the different variables web designers tried to plug in there. He didn't have any freaking citations. I mean, the site was a mess. So, obviously he took a negative thing, because now there's something new that the bots found. And now they're actually going back and, basically crawling it again. And just like link building, you buy some good links and all of a sudden your website tanks. It's probably because of how your website is built that now Google notices it because you had something that drew the attention of the search engines to your bad page or to your bad website. So, we all have to, it all starts with on page. I preach that forever. Okay, so this is a little snapshot of our service schema. We go out and we do a little bit more because we do have stacks. We do have, different, we do citations for different services. If it's a geolocation, those type of things. This is a local business schema. So the local business schema is probably the biggest because it's typically stacked. So there's typically, by the time you get this in our process, this is usually the third level. So you've got a site-wide, you've got a service, you've got a local business. So all three of those are going to be stacked on a local business page. Let me see. Oh, article schema. So this is basically, I like article schema mainly because you can actually put in keywords in it. It's one of the only schemas that you're allowed to put a list of keywords in. Again, don't abuse it. Just put in 5 or 7, typically LSI terms, which is what I do. But that's why I like article schema so much. So, you can do all kinds of backstory. You can make it speakable. So speakable is another schema that we've been testing. Back when this first came out, we thought that this was all ready for voice, voice commands and voice search. It's not. So, but we do put it in there in case it does. Google gives us credit for it, so we put it in there. But basically, it's a speakable schema with the article in parentheses, basically the title of the article and some description. So potential action is always good. A potential action basically means a contact form, a phone number. It's triggering something to happen. Obviously, the public doesn't see it, but Google wants to see a potential action, author and everything else. So, all right. Okay, so that's basically the presentation. So now we're going to get into the nuts and bolts. Any questions yet? Oh my God. Is there where you would add significant link in article schema? Yeah, significant link is something that we're playing with right now to see how best to use it. But yeah, significant link, you will definitely tie the rest of the articles in, especially if you do like we do a bunch of cluster articles. So, the significant link, potential link, there's a couple different ones. Those will help tie in the whole cluster together. So, but yes, we're definitely using that. Could speakable schema be good for ADA compliance? We have not seen anything improve ADA compliance with schema. So that being said, ADA compliant is basically between the browser and the keyboard and how the website is built. So I'm not sure how schema would do that, but we have tested it. I used to do a lot of ADA compliant stuff. I don't anymore. But no, we never saw, speakable be like that. I'd have to think how we could even test that, matter of fact. So, but yeah, maybe, I guess I could say maybe, but we haven't seen it. But I haven't specifically tested that. So I just wrote it down. I'm going to do a test to see if I can, first of all, figure out how to test it. But yeah, see if that triggers something. But yeah, I know ADA compliant is all about the keyboard. It's all about the browser. It's all about, how the website is built and what's involved in the website. But that is a good question, Jared. I like that. Okay. This is a tool that you guys have to have. Topical relevance. I'll put it here in the chat. So topical relevance is where you get your abouts and mentions. Now they've got, I think you're allowed 10 to 15 searches a day or something like that. But basically, you just enter in your main keyword. Plumber. And what it does is it goes out and it starts getting in semantic keywords. It starts building entities, and then it builds your schema. So I have files of files and files of these things of different, we call them abouts and mentions files. And so we build one for every type of term, every type of thing that we use. So it gives you the single keywords, it gives you phrases, You know, some of these aren't going to be, you know, obviously we did a very broad keyword term, plumber, pretty broad. Entities, you know, gives you the frequency and the relevance. So these are different things that you can use as far as knows about, or you can use them for, you know, different types of schema that you want to use and different types of LSI keywords or entities that you want to write about. And then it builds a schema for you. So it has about, this is the about section. So you basically grab this whole thing and you just put it in your schema on your web page. So it's web page schema. We tie it in with the @ symbol, but yeah, so you can see, you know, plumber, plumbing, and it gives you the wiki link and it gives you the machine ID, you know, which is awesome. When they put the machine ID into this tool, it changed everything. So now we can go out and actually do stuff. But you do want to take out stuff that doesn't fit. Okay, so like roof probably wouldn't fit for a regular plumber. Feedback, London, trades, well, that trades experience. So you would definitely want to take out the stuff that doesn't fit. Like if you don't have a journeyman schedule, if you don't have an apprentice program, you know, vocational, you're not a teacher or a school. You want to remove stuff that's not like driver's license. You want to remove stuff that they're just putting in there. The less broad terms, you get a lot better, you know, more accurate results, obviously, than you do with the broad term. But this is an awesome friggin' tool. So this thing is, we use this thing daily. I've got 3 or 4 different logins. It's not, I don't even think it costs money. I think it just wants you to have an account. But yeah, I mean, this stuff is awesome. So you go out and you get all the abouts and mentions. So our staff will do this right in the middle of research. So because if you're only allowed 10 things a day, you might want to have 20 or 30 of these in your file, and you might start building them when you're doing your research. So we do them for all the different services. We'll do it for the location. We'll do it for states and cities. You know, so all the different stuff. That's one of the coolest tools that we found out there. So yeah, use the heck out of it. It's awesome. A couple of things I'll show you a little bit about ours, you know, Solterra sites schema, you know, organization, rating, and website. Okay, so the organization on Solterra site is the site wide. Okay, so and we have everything here. This schema is huge. It's massive. I think it's like, I don't know. It's massive. Anyways, but it has everything in there for the site. Okay, from a site-wide entity. Okay, has descriptions, has the different sameAs, all the different links as they went out and found, you know, my Google site links. You know, I have different entities, I have different lead gen sites, so I bring them all into one spot. Okay, so also gets into the knows abouts. I get into productology, which is ones I like. I mean, wikis are normal. I have a slogan that I put in there, the logo, obviously, area served. This is a nationwide company. So it gets into the different, I have, my main address here is the one I show. Potential action, you know, you always want to have your contact system in there. Additional properties, I have a bunch of them. Alternative names, identifiers. These identifiers are basically machine IDs that Google gave us, but I just added Solterra to them. So let me bring this up. Oops, I didn't need that twice. So this is machine ID for web design. So I just tied in Solterra in there as far as the Solterra plus web plus design at their machine ID. So same with web services. Anytime I can find a good machine ID for my services, I tie Solterra into it. And some more sameAs. I've got some, you know, some different things like Google search, you know, web design, another machine ID, contact point, aggregate rating. Like I said, I always have it in there in case it pops again. Why take it out? I don't get any errors from it. Author, you know, there's some reviews that we have, some review bodies. If you look at the site, I have reviews going all the time down here in the bottom corner. They pop up down here. So anyways, so yeah, I mean, everything's there as far as reviews, and then it gets into the more sameAs, and then knows abouts, it gets into the awards, you know, given name, here it talks about me, you know, this is the family name, I'm the owner of it, gets into all the different things, the work location I'm a member of, all the different stuff that I'm a member of. And then it gets into more of the organizations member of. So I have all the SEO spring training. I have all the stuff in there. Founder, I have Elizabeth under there. It's a test we're doing because I didn't mention me here. So we'll find out about that. And then all her stuff. So this is all the stuff that she's got awards for, all the different things that she knows about. Again, here's more about her. The organization, we have an offer catalog, obviously the list of services. So as you can see, it just goes, this is site wide. It just tells everything about the brand, everything about the people that own it, everything about the top level services. And then, everything's built from there. So this one here, we're actually doing a test with this rating here. I'm just seeing if this pops up. I'm doing a test in Bing right now. That's what this rating schema is for. And then the website schema is just a basic schema. Main thing I want that is this entry point, search action, the search term string is the whole reason we put that schema in there. So anyway, so that's basically the way that we build the schema out on our own sites. Like I said, I have my local business pages, and they're working on these right now. I just got a message in my Skype. So they're doing them. I don't want to look at the schema right now while they're looking at it. So but yeah, so this is one, the Huntsville, Texas page. This is one I pulled up this morning. They've got professional service and the service web page. So this one here is probably going to change because I want local business back on this one. We did a test about our Texas pages to see whether we like local business or professional service, and we haven't seen any difference. So they're putting local business back on the local pages, at least in Texas. So we test all the time, especially I use my Solterra site to test because it's a very powerful website. We can see results a lot quicker compared to some of the other tests that we run. I can snap some local pictures in Austin and surrounding cities if you need some images, Terry. Cool. Heck yeah. No, local stuff is awesome. So anytime that you can do local stuff, especially around images, especially around, when we go to Texas and I go to visit every place that all our clients out there, then we like to make sure that we, try to get some updated pictures from our phone. And then, typical page that we built out. Another thing that really didn't have anything to do with schema, but we started doing is this right here. When EAT came out, or EAT came out, we started putting Why Trust Solterra in the sidebars of our pages, and it has the freaking enormous effect. We used to just have About Solterra, but we changed it to Trust. And we've just had like I said, it's a really, really good thing you can do. It's very, easy to change. But for some reason, of course, they like the word trust. So something to keep in mind. Okay, so let me see. All right, questions, anything else? Okay, cool. Basically, that's the basis of the way we do the schema structure. So when we go out and we search, I tell people all the time, go out and do searches. Like I have to do, when I do Terry Samuels SEO, I have to put SEO in there because there's actually a professional football player named Terry Samuels on the Atlanta Falcons that takes all the freaking glory from it. I'm still trying to beat him, but he's a little bit more famous than I am. So there's 844,000 results for this term. Obviously, I don't want 844,000 things in my schema, but I will definitely go and I will do the research and grab everything that I find. So I'll grab all the different videos I find. I'll grab all the different, links that I find. I'll find out, here's one, Meet Terry Samuels of Solterra Web Services. This is back in 2018. So yeah, I definitely want to grab that link. Here's a Crunchbase. This is a citation that we did. Internet Marketing Gold. So there's all kinds of stuff that we want to bring in, but eventually it's gonna die off. So when you get to the page 5, 6, 7, you're gonna start having to pay more attention because now they're gonna be other Terry Samuels that aren't SEO or other SEOs that aren't Terry Samuels. So just like I said, make sure that when you do the research, you're accurate with the research. You don't want to put other people's stuff in there. We are testing entities right now as far as competitor entities in schema. So I don't want to talk about that until the test is done, which should be sometime in May. But we are looking at, we're building an entity page of the top 10 best web designers in, LA. And of course, Celterra is there. And then there's the other 9. So we're testing some stuff between entities in a public setting in a page and entities in a schema setting in a page. So we don't have any, like I said, we don't have any results of that yet. So, but this is basically what you do. So if you go out and if you have a law firm, hold on, Goldberg. So if you have, Goldberg Law Firm, it's a big place here. Goldberg and Osborne. Matter of fact, let me do that. Oh, shoot. Oh, why don't let me hide here? Yeah, you want to put it in exactly like the business name is, at least first. Yes, I'm in. Okay, so when you go to especially a big law firm, they're going to have tons of stuff. This is an old law firm. They have, I think, they have 3 locations here, but I think they have they're in like 4 or 5 different states. So this type of law firm is going to take a lot of research because you're going to get the brand first, then you're going to get each individual attorney. Their attorney directory is, they just have a ton of freaking people. This is just in Phoenix, I think. But yeah, and then you're doing research on every single attorney. Then you're doing research on every single, if they list them on this page, then I want to do research on them. If they typically don't put paralegals on these pages, you probably don't want to do a lot with paralegals. There's probably not a lot of information out there about a paralegal, but you definitely want the owners of the business, managing partners. You definitely want the attorneys, and you want to make sure that you're doing all the research that you can find on these people. So, you have your profile here. This is all the stuff that, it says about, he's even giving you some advantages already. They're showing you a little bit of their education and stuff, which is good to go on. Shows you his associations and memberships and bar admission. So there's some good information here to start with, but I guarantee there's a lot more out there about this guy. So, and we're going to go out and find it. I tell a story that we did a law firm, it was a couple years ago now. And we actually found one of the attorneys had lost their license in California. And when we called the owner and we found this through the research and the owner checked into it, sure enough, the guy had lost his license like 15 months earlier or 16 months earlier, and nobody vetted him, I guess, to hire him. So anyways, and we found that out just through general research, so when you take the commitment to do advanced schema, it's all about the research. It's all about the time it takes to do the research. It's all about, and I've had questions. What's the minimal? What's the minimum you can do for schema compared to what's the maximum? Well, obviously maximum, you can just keep going and going and going. And I have done that. The minimum, I believe, is basically the first 5 pages of information is the minimum. And then obviously anything after that is just bonus. So there's some people that'll put in 3 different abouts or 2 different mentions, and I'm like, why limit it? If there's 15 things in the about and 30 things in the mention that all fit this person, place, or thing, then why not include it? So, the biggest thing that we want to do is that we want to make sure that the system is set up to where when you're doing the research and you're bringing all this stuff in, that what is the minimum? Me personally, I think the minimum is at least the first 5 pages of information. I think the minimum is at least abouts and mentions that fit that person, place, or thing or brand. So, if you're going to do the research, I'm not a half-ass guy. So when we decided to jump into this as a product and a service and a white label, we knew we were jumping into something that just nobody takes the time, because it does take time. I used to spend weekends doing schema before I hired Sarah, and it just takes time. And if you mess up the templates, they're going to take hours finding a stupid freaking comma. So there's all kinds of things that kind of draw people away from doing this type of stuff compared to the people that do see a value in it, do see a product that they can show their people, And, I mean, I guarantee if we go out and find all this stuff with Douglas Settle and we put that into the schema and we say, wow, look, all the other stuff we found about Douglas. This is all great stuff here. It'll still be in the schema, but there's going to be more in the schema, that he might not. It's not that he doesn't want it on the page. Maybe they just didn't, think it was relevant to where I do think it's relevant. If you were on the rowing team at, I don't even know what college he went to, DePaul University, if he's on the rowing team and, he won their team won the gold or whatever. Yeah, I want to include that stuff. That's an accolade. That's bringing in something that somebody accomplished and bring it into where Google now knows about it. They don't have to go searching for it, or maybe they don't know about it. We're kind of showing them the information. So yeah, I don't know why. Yep. Simon said, I think a lot of people were confused with the start time. So just now joining. Yes, I have templates. You guys are going to get my templates. Yeah, Simon, nothing to see. Your schema doesn't work. Simon has a cool tool that, one of these, maybe the next session we do in a week, maybe I'll have Simon come on and if he wants to show you his tool. And he does. Simon and I have been working on schema for 4 years together, I think, about a year before COVID. So a lot of stuff, the way Simon does his stuff and the way I do my stuff is pretty similar. And we go after the same thing and want to basically accomplish the same goals. So like I said, I apologize that I apologize about the time difference. I thought I was clear. Maybe I wasn't. So my fault. All right. Any other questions? Yeah, Simon will show you the tool. Okay. Let me see here. What time is it? 10:08. Yeah, gosh. I did record this. So so if the guys that are joining late, you guys will get the video and you can go through it. So I said at the beginning, we'll probably do 2 or 3 of these sessions. So this one was just get you familiar with schema. I do want you to find your own project to go out and start doing research, start putting in a text file or building out Excel sheets, whatever is comfortable for you. We build text files. And then next week, we'll show you how to work in the templates and be able to change those text files to make them yours. And then we'll get into more of the specific questions that we got around, especially around, I got a lot of questions around ecom that we'll get into that too. So, yeah, you're right. Arizona's not on daylight saving. It screws me up every freaking time. Anyway, so yeah, like I said, so take some time. I'll do a different Zoom link. It will be 9 a.m., which is 10 a.m. here. It's 9 a.m., an hour later. So only because I just like 9 o'clock. I'm not tired yet. I usually start working about 5. So it's kind of like getting close to my lunchtime. Yeah, just JP said use Ted's tool. Cora is awesome. Cora helps us with schema a lot, especially around LSIs and entities. ChatGPT does great with entities. So you can do a lot of stuff with ChatGPT. I wouldn't have ChatGPT write your schema, only because you're going to get different errors and different warnings. It's better to, I've always believed it works off, you work off a good completed template and just go to write down line by line and change it. That's kind of what we'll be working on next week. So
you can also cloak your stuff with Ted's plugin.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you don't want your competition to see your shit, then it's a good way to do it.
Yeah. Also, we minify our schema too. It makes it a little bit harder for somebody to unwind. Obviously, they can find a tool to unminify it, but we minify it all just so it's a big block of freaking code, and it makes it a lot harder to steal, especially when you miss a comma.
Yep.
So yeah, ChatGPT schema is worse than Yoast schema. I agree. So that was actually one of the first things I did with ChatGPT was test their schema. But it does do research pretty good. So you can use it for that. If GPT-4 does anyways, but remember, I think, what is it, 2000? I can't remember the date. If it's after that date, then it's they don't have the information on it. All right. So any other questions? Again, I apologize, guys, that showed up late. I will get you this link as soon as it replicates, and I'll put it up in the Google Drive. I'll send it to you guys personally go through it. And then, like I said, we'll do at least 2 or 3 more of these. You know, I've never done this before, so it's good with me. I'm actually looking at doing a course. So this also helps me kind of explain it a little bit better. It can get really confusing, especially when you start talking about, you know, stacking. You really don't want to use the same description and the ambiguous description on your stacks. You want to mix them up. So a lot of things, a lot of people send me their schema to look at, and it's, like I said, it's just basic stuff. So you need to do more. You know, you can't just do, hey, I built this with rank math. How's this? Well, it's great, but it's not good enough. So don't expect huge results. Yeah. Okay, cool. And also I'll put I'm not going to put the templates up in the drive yet. I'm going to do a separate drive for this little, for all the people that signed up. There's like 30 of you. I'm going to do a separate drive for that, and I'm going to put my templates up there next week. I don't want you guys playing with the templates again or until you start doing the research. You have to do the research. The research is where it's at. And you know, you can use tools like Simon's, you can use ChatGPT to help you with the research, but you have to do the research. And otherwise you're going to miss stuff. And like I said, that article from 2018 about me, you know, that's in my schema, and because that's why it's still on the first page. So, you know, I brought it all together in the schema for Terry Samuels SEO. And that's what you want to do. That's the main thing that you want to get out of it when you do stuff. So I think that's about it. So yes, I'll send a drive link through the email. Let me see. Sorry that the time confusing, guys. It will be at 9 a.m. my time. So it's 10:13 right now. It'll be at 9 a.m. my time. So an hour and 15 minutes earlier. Again, Arizona's freaking special. We decided we don't need to change time zones like everybody else does. But I'll get everything over to you guys, and then we'll do this next Tuesday at 9 a.m. and then I'll record that one also if you can't make it. Please, you know, kind of keep the recordings in here to ourselves until we can kind of, you know, perfect this thing. Because I do love teaching this stuff, and I do want to do a course to teach it. Maybe I can talk Simon into doing it with me. But yeah, I appreciate you guys. So I have no idea why Google. Dude, Arizona special. That's all I can tell you. So 11:14 there. Ask ChatGPT if you're concerned what PST is. Anyways, guys, thank you so much. Like, this is a passion of mine. I love teaching this stuff. I love white labeling this stuff. If you have questions, if you have a stubborn thing, and again, remember, if it's a brand new website, a brand new business, you're probably not going to find much out there. That's okay. You know, now we can just build out the schema normally that way. So you don't have to have a whole bunch of things, but hopefully you're building citations. Hopefully you're building stacks. Hopefully you're getting a brand IFTT system at least. And that's how you get started. That's always in a press release. Always should be your first link building systems. So. Okay. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. I appreciate it. And like I said, I'll get this thing up there. I'll get it I'll get everything saved. I'll send you guys the recording so you guys will be caught up for next week. But yeah, pick a site, go play with it, you know, go do some research on it. Next week, if you find something that you have questions about, tell us, we'll help you through it. But if you guys are going to watch me do this, I'm going to expect you to do it also. So remember, I said this when I speak about this. I've given my templates out to probably 100+ people, and I think only about 5 have used them. So again, all about the research. That's the commitment. So let me see some more in chat. Okay, perfect. Yeah, if JP's doing it, y'all have to. JP threw his laptop last time I tried to teach him this shit. So. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you. SEO Spring Training 2023 is going to keep going. We've got some cool things coming up. You know, we'll throw Simon's tool in there. I've got some people that are going to do other webinars for you guys. So this thing will be an ongoing group, and we'll be doing trainings and all kinds of different things. So again, welcome to our family. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Terry.
All right.
Bye all.